Are you a chiropractor with a struggling practice, having a hard time finding and keeping patients? Is your staff falling short of expectations? I'm Dr. Scott Sawyer, and DC Trainings has the answers that you need. So tune in now and find out how. Hello, everybody. Welcome to DC Trainings. I'm Dr. Scott Sawyer, and today we're going to talk about the performance evaluation as it relates to team development. And we're actually wrapping up Module 1. So I'm really excited to wrap up what's been a great module. Today is a great topic to sort of finalize this module because if you've been following along, you now have everything you need to hire the right people to join your team. And today we're going to talk about how to maintain that really awesome team environment for many, many years and keep the right people in the right seats, as they say. I'll have a couple of bits of information for you as we go through our time today. But I do want to just show you this book because I've been reading this book, and it's a great book on really maintaining just a great team atmosphere. I'm an avid reader. I read pretty much every day. And so I thought I would just share this book with you as a great resource. It's called Scaling Up. And I'll actually be talking to you a little bit about some details from that book. But as we dive into this last section, we're going to wrap this up. Now, with everything that you've learned, you are poised to have the best people join your team and stay with you for a long time, which means you don't have to retrain and go out and find new people. And that turnover can be exhausting, really, when you have CAs that are coming and going and having this frequent turnover. So as an example, in my practice, I have I have actually 4 CAs. I have 3 CAs for my chiropractic practice, and I have 1 CA for DC Trainings. But my 3 CAs that are focused on the practice, 2 of them have been with me now for 15 and 16 years. And, it's so great. Like we get along well. We work well together. We have, the challenges that come with running a practice. We've been through those together. We've also enjoyed and celebrated the successes that come with having a dynamic practice. So having a team that stays with you for the long term is really a fantastic stability point for your practice. So now that we've gone through all the work of hiring, we're going to talk about how to keep the right people in the right seats. And I'm sort of quoting the book when I say that, because they do go into having the right people in the right seats. And there's, not to get too far off topic, but there is another book called First Break All the Rules. I see Dr. Knitsch on our call today. Dr. John, I think I actually gave you a copy of that because there was a couple seminars where I was passing that book out as a gift. And that is a great book also to have in your library as far as having the right talent in the right places in your practice. I want to welcome Dr. Robinson to our call today. And part of why I'm recognizing you, Dr. Dean, is because, and welcome to DC Trainings too, by the way. I'm really excited to work with you. And my vision in DC Trainings is to see every chiropractor be as successful as possible and have the most successful practice so that we can then serve the most people and bring subluxation-free health to humanity, which will make the world a better place. So that's my mission, and I'm excited to share that with you. But I know that in your practice, you have many employees and CAs, and so sometimes it can be challenging to have one of those people leave and then have to rehire and replace that person and then train somebody. There's so much energy that goes into that. So today we're going to talk about the steps to take once you've found the right people to keep that relationship strong. So let's jump into our topic, and I'm doing this on a single screen. So I apologize if I am bouncing around a little bit, but it should be fine. There we go. Let's go. There we go. Okay. So, and as always, for everybody on our call, if you have a question, just raise your hand, type in a note, or I'll be happy to unmute your line. If you have a mic, then obviously it's better if we can just talk and answer your question and get that worked out. Or if you need to type it in, I can also answer it that way. But one big thing that's coming on the horizon, of course, is our seminars this weekend. And the reason why I was taking that extra time to explain the importance of having the right people in the right seats is because what I'll be talking about on Saturday with the new patient seminar is how to really educate a patient about the benefits of lifetime chiropractic care, right? And it all starts with the first dip, as we call it in chiropractic. We dip our new patient in chiropractic philosophy on their first visit. And some get it, strong on that first visit, some don't. I know for myself, the first time I went to a chiropractor was not the time that I decided, hey, I'm going to be a chiropractor. I just enjoyed getting adjusted. So it can take some time to really help somebody through the steps of incorporating a chiropractic lifestyle into their personal health care approach. And we want to go through those steps on Saturday at our next seminar. So this Saturday, we have our upcoming seminar. It's going to be a Zoom seminar. So you'll log in through your membership portal on the website, dctrainings.com. Log in. We'll be starting at 10. I believe we'll finish up right around 2. And we should get through all the material. If it goes a little bit over that or a little bit short of that, just know that, again, I want to be available for any questions that you have. So if you do have questions on Saturday, then of course we'll get those answered. And if it takes a little bit longer, then that's fine. But I'm really excited to go through those materials with you. All right, and I see questions typing in already. So I'm actually gonna wait to answer those questions for just a few minutes, but I'll make sure I come back to those. And but let's dive in. Let's talk about the performance evaluation. This is exciting, but I am looking forward to seeing all of you on Saturday. Let me just show you really quickly. Well, no, I won't do that because I'll have to log in. But I'll show you how to access the seminar when we come to that part. Okay, so here's an overview of the performance evaluation, the employer expectations. Now, this has to be made clear right from the start when you hire somebody. What are my expectations? Now, this is a perfect point to, I'm going to share with you the excerpt that I took from that book, but let's go through these. So here's employer expectations. The first one is, I want 100% commitment to service. Now, what's an example of this? Last week, we had a very busy day. Every single new patient appointment was booked. Every report of findings appointment was booked. Every care plan renewal appointment was booked. It was full. On top of that, we had our usual patient schedule. And, for those of you, again, I don't say this to brag, but I do see a lot of patients. So our schedule of 150 patients for the day was completely booked. Then we had a new patient call in, and the new patient happened to be someone that I know. So coincidentally, I was on my lunch break and the patient called my cell phone and said, I need to get in. And I said, gosh, I'm really sorry. I'm totally booked today, but I'd love to see you. Can you wait till tomorrow? And he said, oh, I will, but I'm really hurting. Can you please help me? And I said, hold on just a second. And I put him on hold and I transferred the line to the front desk. And of course, my CA parted the seas and found a spot to fit him in between all of our other appointments. That's 100% commitment to service. Just, we'll find a way. We will find a way to take care of you. Let's make it work. You might have to wait a little bit longer when you come in. We may not, give you the most excellent service that we usually would, but we're going to fit you in and we're going to take care of you. So that's an example of 100% commitment to service. An effective delivery, and I'll have examples for each one of these, but an effective delivery spans the whole aspect of your practice, right? How effective is your CA in scheduling a new patient? There's a question for you, right? How effective is your missed appointments and recall system setup? How effective when an established patient misses their appointment, how effective is your team at getting them back in for another appointment as soon as possible? I'll give you another example. I have an associate doctor that works with me. And in the beginning, his adjustments were not like mine. And that's not a fault of his. That's the art, philosophy, and science of chiropractic, right? The art means that every chiropractor, with every adjustment, is a little bit different. That's the art and the beauty of what we do. But what's important for consistency in terms of patient care is that patients know what they have become accustomed to expect when they come in and they received a chiropractic adjustment in your practice. So that effective delivery means that there has to be consistency between doctors if there's going to be more than one doctor taking care of a patient. So an example of an effective delivery means that when I'm on vacation, like I am today, you can see there's snow behind me. My snowboard's right there. I'm actually taking 2 days actually to go skiing. But that means that when I'm not in the office, that my associate doctor is going to deliver the exact same adjustments that I would deliver if I were there, so that our patients can continue to receive the consistent care that they've become accustomed to receiving. And I have full confidence in his ability to do that. Now, in the beginning, it wasn't like that. So we trained and we trained and we trained and we practiced and we adjusted each other, and he took care of me, and then I adjusted him, and then I coached him through the subtleties of how I take care of patients. It's not an ego. It's just all about serving our patients. And that goes back to number one, 100% commitment to service. We need to be able to provide the best care. Time efficiency. Now, this is another one. And this is something I'll give you an example on, because we all want to be efficient in time. We want to make sure that from the doctor adjusting a patient and taking as much time as necessary to provide that patient with the best possible adjustment that can be provided in that time frame or on that given day, to also matching that with the flow at the front desk, right? Let's say the front desk can check in a patient and send them back to get adjusted in 2 minutes, or just say 5 minutes. We'll just round up. 5 minutes. But at the same time, the chiropractor in the back is taking 10 minutes with each patient. Well, where's the backlog going to happen, right? And we can flip that around, right? We could say, well, the chiropractor in the back is taking a minute with each patient. He's flying through the patient adjustments. They're all great adjustments. Nobody's getting, care is getting compromised. But at the front desk, the CA is chatting and talking about the weather and the football game. And so there's a bottleneck at the front desk, and the doctor in the back is waiting around like, where's my patients? I want to take care of patients. I'm sitting here with nothing to do. So time efficiency is important across the board. I'll give you another example. When a new patient comes into your office, do they get the usual stereotype of waiting for half an hour in the lobby before they get to see the doctor? Or when they come in, is your office structured in a way to where almost instantly they are greeted and cared for, and catered to, and feel like they're stepping right into what will ultimately the best doctor's care that they've ever received? Is that what they're coming into? Or is it that stereotypical doctor's office where they wait in the lobby for half an hour? Time efficiency is important. And these are the things that we explain to our CAs and our teams so that they understand the level of performance that they're expected to operate at. Next, we have meet or exceed practice goals. Now, and I want to ask you this, does your team know what your practice goals are? Doctors, if I was to, just randomly call your office as a secret caller, and when your CA answered the phone, say, okay, this will be in the strictest confidence, but why don't you tell me, what is your goal for new patients for this month? Does your CA know what that is? Or what is your goal for collections today? Does your CA know that? See, these are the kinds of things that if you make those goals clear, then your team can operate at that level because they know exactly what those goals are. Okay. Oops. And let's go back up, because this is the part where I wanted to show you. This is an excerpt from this book. And this is something that they said, there's 3 things that must happen in a successful team. And I just want to read this to you, because this is 3 things that I think should go without saying, but not everybody even knows to do these. I know there's some new docs on the call today. So the first one is, how often do you share your company vision? Now, in this book, they talk about how the company vision should be shared every quarter, right? From the CEO, the practice owner, or in DC trainings, we call this the primary doctor of chiropractic, the PDC. So how often do you share the company vision? And that should be done at least once a quarter. Okay. Now, number 2, let's see. And I'm not going to read through all of these, but I'll share the 3 with you, but I'm not going to read the bullets or the paragraph underneath the bullets. So number 2, there we go. I can add 2 for the important components of a successful top shelf or scaling up business, right? Number 2, have quarterly conversations with the people that you lead. Now, I know in chiropractic, most of us have fairly smaller practices, right? We don't have hundreds of employees. We don't have 100 employees to where we're managing as a practice owner, we're managing managers, right? We know most of the people on our team by a first name basis, and we're able to meet with them on a regular or pretty frequent time basis, right? So how often do you have conversations with the people that you lead? Now, for me in my practice, because there's basically, well, 5, I have an associate doctor and I have 4 CAs. So every quarter, I'm having a conversation with each one of them in a one-on-one fashion. Now, what works out great for us is that with my main 3 CAs, we just rotate once a month. Every month, they know one of them is going to meet with me in a one-on-one meeting, and that's pre-scheduled and it's set up. For my associate doctor, once a quarter, he and I meet. It's on a different day and time than the other meetings, so it's scheduled separately. And then for my 4th CA, of course, I'm also having a one-on-one meeting with her about DC trainings every quarter. So basically, I'm having these weekly meetings that sort of monthly meetings that sort of rotate through. It ends up being almost once a week because of the extra numbers. But my point being, number 2 is you want to have a one-on-one meeting with your leadership team at least once a quarter. Okay, now, and then I'll summarize in just a minute. So that's number 2. Number 3, in terms of successful company practices and business practices, is to conduct weekly meetings every quarter. Okay, so that's the summary of all of that. Now, what does that mean? That means that for me, as the practice owner, every meeting, I'm having a one-on-one meeting with my key leadership team. And we're going over, what are we going over? Well, we're definitely going over what I talked about first, which is the company vision. But more importantly, we're going over specific parameters that they're responsible for. And I want to dive into accountability on this because accountability is really important when it comes to a successful practice. Who in your office is accountable for what? And in DC trainings, we have 5 what we call focuses. Those are the accountability measurements that we use to gauge how well the practice is operating. And those 5 measurements are: 1 is new patients, 2 is conversion rates, 3 is patient visits, 4 is, reported findings conversion rates was number 2. Patient visits is 3. Number 4 is care plan renewal conversion rates. And 5 is revenue or collections. So those are the 5 key parameters. And if you picture that like baking cookies, that's a recipe for success right there. If you can follow those parameters or use those focuses and have all of them hitting your targets and goals, you're going to have your perfect batch of delicious, yummy cookies, and it's going to come out perfect every time. So that's our 5 focuses. Now, in terms of this overview that I just read for you, that's what we're talking about in these quarterly conversations and in our one-on-one meetings. Now, each one of my CAs has been assigned a specific focus. For example, my the youngest of my CAs, she's been with us about a year now, and she is responsible for new patients. So when we have our one-on-one meetings, I'm supporting her and I'm coaching her on the steps that we have in place for making sure that we're going to have an abundance of new patients and we're going to hit our success rates at 100% or higher in the category of new patients. And I'll show you that in a moment when we go over to the website. So those are some ideas in terms of how you'll be able to structure your meetings. Oh, I lost my mouse. Where did it go? Oh, my mouse has disappeared. That's how you're going to structure those meetings. Oh, wait, there it went. There it is. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, let me jump back. And I apologize, but my mouse has disappeared. So, not sure why it's doing that, but there we go. Oh, actually, no, that's why. Sorry, I was not sharing my screen. So now, let's share my screen. There, good. Okay. And there we go. Okay. So there is your 4 employer expectations. And then we tie that into the 3 steps that successful businesses take in terms of that number 4 topic, which is to meet or exceed practice goals. By knowing with your team knowing what the practice goals are and being reminded of what those are on a pretty frequent basis, on a regular basis, then that puts everybody in the driver's seat to meet and exceed your practice goal. Okay, so here's an example of the performance evaluation, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing right now because we're going to come back to the website, but that's just a sample and that's on the website for you. So we'll come back to that in just a minute. But here's an outline of how once you have your team hired and everybody's in the key seats, here's the outline of how the performance evaluation works. So the first thing is the PCA schedules the employee evaluation. So my primary chiropractic assistant or my office manager pulls out the calendar and meets with each one of the CAs, including herself, and schedules a evaluation with the PDC. I'm the PDC as the primary doctor of chiropractic, and those evaluations are happening once every 6 months. So write that down, that once every 6 months or twice a year, it's the responsibility of your CAs to come to you, doctors, and to complete a performance evaluation. Now, why do I put that responsibility on them? Well, first of all, if as I mentioned earlier, if there's no accountability, then nobody's accountable. If there's not a measurable accountability, there will not be a measurable result. So that's why this is so important. Everyone on my team knows that every 6 months I'm expecting to meet with them to complete this evaluation. If they don't schedule it, then they immediately become ineligible for bonuses and raises. Just a thought, and of course an incentive. And because of that incentive, nobody ever misses it. So that's the basis of it. Okay, so those are scheduled by the PCA. Now the employee completes their own performance evaluation, so they're going to fill that out. Oh, excuse me. It's that Kirkwood powder out there. They're going to complete their own evaluation and they'll turn that in to the PDC 1 week before the evaluation. Then I meet with my PCA and evaluate the employee's answers. Now, that's on kind of a bigger team. So like for you, Dr. Dean, that would be something that you would meet with your office manager. In DC trainings, we call that the primary chiropractic assistant. You would meet and review those answers. Now, a person who's in the position of office manager has the wherewithal to be able to look at those evaluations and structurally or constructively, plug in some action steps. If you have a smaller team, then maybe you don't want to share these answers with other people on the team. That's okay. You can keep it confidential, but I leave that up to you. It just depends on how big your team is in terms of who you're going to share that with. But we're going to evaluate those answers. So let's use a smaller practice. In that case, I'm going to evaluate the answers and I'll prepare for that meeting and I'll apply a grade. And the grade, I'll show you in just a minute. There's specific parameters that constitute what grade is applied. And then we go from there into that meeting. So the meeting is then scheduled and it happens and the PDC discusses the evaluation with the employee. And that is the completion of that step. So scheduled every 6 months, the employee completes the evaluation and turns it in to the doctor. Or if it's an associate doctor, they turn it into the primary doctor. The doctor evaluates it 1 week prior to the meeting. Then you have the meeting and a grade is applied. The meeting happens, there's a discussion, and you continue to grow the practice. Okay, so that's, and of course, in the seminar, we would take the time to practice that. But we're going to come back to this part here, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. So let me jump over to the website. And actually, there was a question that popped up. This is a good time. Okay, so yes, there was a question that came up. We have no control financially over our CAs. We need some tactics to keeping them engaged and on board. And actually, I just gave you one of them. So, and this is a great question. So basically, how do we keep our employees engaged in a way that will help them to stay motivated towards reaching the practice goals, right? So one of the ways is that you have specific incentives that are in place so that they know, or each person on the team knows that their work is part of a collective effort to reach certain goals, of which those goals will provide financial incentives for the whole team. So bonuses are a big way to do that. And it's important to set those bonuses up around certain areas of the practice that have to do with the focuses that I shared with you a moment ago. So that's a great way to keep them engaged when there's a collective goal and there's individual goals. And I'll come back to that in just a minute. So great question. And again, I'll tie that in a few minutes when we go over that. Okay, so let me go back because I want to tie in the website. There we go. Oh, I have to share my screen, so let me just share this. Sorry, and again, I'm just bouncing around on one laptop screen today. So there we go. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and log in and go to the success rates for the practice. And I'm going to share my success rates with you. Just know I never share your success rates with any other doctors. It's all individualized. But first, I want to show you these performance evaluations. So here are the materials for this week, and there is a demonstration of the performance evaluation that you can watch on the website. So you're welcome to check that out. You'll see how the flow goes. But for today, we're going to look at the sample of the performance evaluation, and that's here. So this is just a sample of what's been filled out. As I mentioned earlier, your CA or your associate doctor will fill this out ahead of time, and they'll turn this in. Doctors, you'll review this, and then you'll apply a grade, and you'll fill in this section here at the bottom. So at the bottom, this area says, grade positive energy with the team and patients. Areas of improvement, you'll list those out. So this example says follow scripts when being introduced to deliver the report of findings. So that's in my office, and what I'll be teaching, what I teach with DC trainings is how to have your CAs delivering the report of findings, not your associate doctors. For those of you who have associates, you want to have your CAs delivering the report of findings and the financial arrangements. They'll do a better job, number one. And number two, that's really not the best use of talent for an associate doctor, because their talent should be best utilized around adjusting patients and really keeping patients engaged in their care plans. And then the CAs are the ones who deliver the findings of the new patient appointment, the report of findings, and review financial arrangements. Because where do most financial challenges come up? They come up with your CAs. So if your CAs are well trained and versed in working through financial arrangements, that means they're going to be the most skilled in terms of handling challenges that come up around those financial arrangements later, instead of passing it off to the doctors all the time. Okay, so anyways, just a little sidebar. But action as a result of the evaluation: continue training in insurance department, cross-train with new staff. So that's just an example. I kind of picked that out of the blue as a general rule of thumb. But more importantly, number 4, the overall grade. And this is where you want to grade your team. Okay, there's a grade applied here. And those grades could constitute eligibility for a bonus. So again, the question came up about keeping your team engaged. If you get an A or a B, then you get a bonus. If you get a C on your evaluation, bonuses stop. And then we work on fixing those items, and then you get to be eligible again. So it says down here, an A means continue current actions, all good, status quo, continue as we are. A B means mild improvement is required. So let's tweak a couple things. Let's work on a couple issues, but overall you're doing great. I appreciate you. You're a fantastic part of our team, so let's keep it up. Or C, immediate improvement is required. Okay, so you haven't been following your scripts with report of findings. Your conversion rates have dropped below the threshold of 80%. So we need to really work on getting those numbers up. And as soon as you can demonstrate an average success rate of 80% or higher on your report of findings for 1 month, boom, you're right back in the saddle, and you'll be eligible for those bonuses. Now, one thing that I know comes up, I get this question often, is would this be the point when you don't want to create a situation where one person is being targeted with a problem and everybody else is doing great, and so it scatters the team and it creates this division? No. The way to work through this is to say to this individual CA, hey, there's this challenge. Let's work on this together. I'm here to support you. And here's some areas where the team can work with you and help you to get back on board. So in my office, one of the CAs that we have who had left the office for a while. She actually was working two jobs. She worked the other job for a while. She couldn't work with us, and then she came back. And she came back and felt that she was a little too rusty to deliver the report of findings. No problem. So right now she's going through some training with the team just to brush, to dust off the report of findings, to get herself back into a good flow where she's feeling confident. And literally next week is when we have her scheduled to begin delivering the report of findings again. So those are just some examples of where you might have some, someone that got a C, but it's not the end of the world. We're just going to work on these things. Or maybe they got a B and you don't want them to become really unmotivated by it. No, this can actually be something that's very motivating and moves them into a new area of the office, and then you continue to grow. So that would be an example of that. Okay, so with that, let's jump back over. And actually, again, if there's any questions, just raise your hand. I'm happy to unmute your line and we can answer those questions. But I'm going to shift back over to the PowerPoint because we're actually going to wrap up this module. And this is where we get into some of the incentives. And this is some of the things that really will, let me just jump back over, will really encourage your team to stay with you for the long term. And the term that I like to use is a career position, right? We have CAs that maybe come and go, but when you've got a CA who identifies their role as this is my career, that's somebody who's in it for the long term, and they're really going to be engaged and committed to working with the office and continuing to make sure that it grows. So let's plug in some incentives that reward longevity with our team. So the first one is incentives are based on deliverables with measurable results. And I've actually shown you that and given you some examples of that today. So that's through success rates in DC trainings on what's called the goals tracking system. And Dr. Dean, you and I will be going over that together. I'll be showing you how to set up your office and assign different focuses to different key players on your team, and we'll work through that together. But that'll come up soon. Okay, so and then incentives, I'm sorry, not incentives, I got sidetracked. Beyond those incentives, let's define specific goals. Now, those incentives the payout has to be based on something that's a goal, right? I mean, I'm working right now with the Warriors basketball team, and their incentive is let's take it to the world championship, right? And that's their goal. And there's specific steps that need to happen. And of course, they're keeping score with every game along the way. And that goal is let's get the world championship and win it. And that's every game is building towards that big goal. So we want to define specific goals. And I'm going to show you an example of how you can really coach your team forward through reaching a certain goal. So let's take a goal of 50 new patients in a month. Okay, and I know your practice may be smaller than that, it may be bigger than that. I just used an easy number. So we've got this graph, and that's a target graph. In DC trainings, we call that success rates. So the goal is 50 new patients for the month, or 13 per week. Now, as we start this target graph, we can see here that in week 1, we hit 15 new patients. Great. According to the target graph, we're ahead of schedule. Our success rate is above 100%. In week 2, we sort of had a dip. We only saw 1 new patient. Now, I don't know, what happened. Maybe the doctor was on vacation or the roads were closed. I mean, if you're in California, I know many of us are in California, it has been the wettest winter I can remember in a long time. In fact, for those of you who've been on the webinar before, you've probably seen me sitting right at this table, and behind me, I'm on the second floor, and the sun is usually shining. Well, there's so much snow in the Sierras that the snow is all the way up to the 3rd floor, and I can't even go outside the door, let alone, see the slopes or the sunshine. There's so much snow. So things can come up and they can set us back in terms of our goal. Now, do we lose the vision? No, we still have that goal in place. We still want to hit the 50 new patients, but maybe we had an off week for some reason. So we only had 1. Now, the next week, we're like, okay, let's get back on track. Let's go for it. Well, we saw 9, which, maybe that was a good week of new patients. That's neither here nor there, but it wasn't enough to bring us above our target line. And that's the key. So at that point, when you see this, and this is where the goals tracking system is so valuable for you, as soon as you see that you're not hitting the target line, that's okay, the gloves are off. We got to sit down. We got to meet. We got to really dive into this, take it on with both fists and figure out what's going on. Now, is our goal off track? Was it the wrong goal? Or are we just not following through in our action steps enough to reach that goal? What's going on? Let's figure it out, right? So in this example, let's say we do that. We have a meeting, our whole team gets together. We say, look, we still want to hit the goal. It's still a reasonable goal. What do we have to do to get there? And we lay out some action steps. Let's reactivate some former new patients. Let's schedule a health talk. Let's go back and do those orientation referrals. There's so many things that we can do. Doctors, you could start asking for referrals, and I've shown you how to do that in a previous section. So we do that. Let's just say we do it. We all get on board behind this one goal, even though there's only one CA that's responsible for the result of this goal, the new patient. We all get on board with it. And guess what? The last week, we have 30 new patients in a week, and 55 was our end result, which means we surpassed our goal. We had more than 100% success rate. Now, I've been showing you this graph for a couple of years, but for those of you who remember, this was actually a month in my practice. So this literally happened. I'm in practice just like you. So, the beauty of that is that I'm walking my talk and I'm in the game too. And so this literally happened in my practice, and we made the goal. We hit it. It was a lot of work, but we felt so good when we did. So that's another incentive, right? That's an incentive that we can show our patients, our team, that, hey, we can do this if we work together on it. Here's our success rates for 2022. So last year we had a goal of 600 new patients. The actual result at the end of the year was 645. So we had a success rate of well over 100%, and we're able to celebrate together. It was great. Okay, so and then of course on DC trainings through the goals tracking system, we show you specifically how to track those goals and how to follow through on the action steps. So here, let's say in this example, it's the revenue goal. So let's say you have a goal to collect X amount of money this year. Well, it's going to show you what your results are as you track through the year. And hopefully these numbers are actually going to be above 100%. Now, if you're not sure, if you're thinking, well, I want to increase my collections, I want to have a higher revenue, I'm not sure how to do that. Well, we've given you some action steps right here. So the first one would be to use recurring payments. Use the script to collect ongoing revenue from all active patients. Sorry, there we go. Sorry about that. My phone was starting to ring, and that's our web developer. So I'll call him back later. So that would be the first step. Use recurring payments and start setting your patients up on monthly automatic payments to where their payments are running automatically. That's a way to boost your collections. Always know your net profit margin and collect above that level. If you have patients coming in, and if you know that let's say that your revenue is to collect $50 a visit, but you have some patients on some old care plans, they've been coming in for a long time, and you realize that at the end of the day, they're actually only paying you $35 a visit. Well, that technically means you're paying them to come to you, which that is not a good business model. I think that goes without saying. So if you know what your net profit margin is, let's say it's $35 that you have to collect, or else you're going to be paying patients to see you. You're aiming for 50, but there is some wiggle room there. Well, if you know that every patient that's coming in is paying at least at or above 35, then you know that you're profitable. And all you have to do is just boost your patient visits, and you'll see that your revenue goal actually happens. And then, of course, track your success through the goal tracking system. I'll come back to that as we wrap up today. So define specific goals, track measurable results through the success rate, and achieve reward. This is about follow through. Now, goes back to that question that was typed in on engagement. If you want to have an engaged team, set specific goals. Give them a specific way to track those goals, and then collectively come up with what the reward is going to be. Now, one of our doctors with DC trainings, he's had a great team for a long time, and they had a big goal, and he wanted to make sure that they hit it, and he wanted to make sure that they had a really good reward for doing it. So as a result of hitting that goal, he took his two CAs and himself all to Hawaii on a Hawaii all expenses paid vacation as a reward for hitting that goal. Now, and I'm not saying this is what you have to do, but this makes a good example where if you went to your team and said, hey, you guys, let's collect X amount of money this year. And in this amount of money, I've allocated or I've earmarked a certain amount of that to buy each one of you a round trip plane ticket to Hawaii with all expenses paid and even some spending cash for say 5 days. All of us in Hawaii, if we hit this goal. You want to see engagement? You'll see it. Now, what if not all your team wants to go to Hawaii? That's okay. Let them come up with a goal that collectively they want. They might say, forget Hawaii, we'll take the cash. Okay, great. Whatever that is, come up with it with them, and then develop it together. So here's some more rewards, perks. Obviously, a dependable environment, right? That's that career mentality, a strong work ethic. We're committed to working hard. We're committed to serving our patients. In my office, if you disagree with this one, that's fine. But we always, in the morning we come in, we all give each other a hug. We say, it's going to be a great day. And we get started with our day. So that's a perk that my team appreciates. And we've been doing that for a long time. Bonuses, I talked about those bonuses. We have the bonus net revenue, and then we have a bonus for patient visits. Those are paid monthly and weekly. Once again, we can build engagement. I really love that question, by the way, for the doctor that typed that in. We've sort of piggybacked on that. But bonuses, that's another big one. So exponentially, as we work harder and we work smarter, our income goes up. Now, that doesn't mean just a bunch more income for the doctor. Everybody shares in that increased pay. And my team has become very dependent on those bonuses. I mean, they love it. It's an expectation now. It's not just like a random thing. Hey, you did good. Here's some extra cash. No, it's an expected, regular, frequent increase in their pay. And they work hard for that and they deserve it. So we set that up for them. Birthdays. You might say, hey, every year you get a day off for your birthday. Great incentive, right? That's a nice thing. Now, we like to celebrate birthdays at our Monday meeting. So whenever it's somebody on the team's birthday, we have our Monday meeting every week, just like I shared with you in this document. Weekly meetings are important. And if it's somebody's birthday that week, we all celebrate. Anniversary of employment. So every year for those CAs that have been with you for a long time, we want to reward longevity. So my PCA reminds me, hey, this CA's anniversary is coming up. And then we announce it at our meeting. Hey, Bertha's been with me for 17 years. I just want to let everyone know she just had her anniversary. Congratulations to Bertha. And these are some of the great things that I know we all love about you. You're fantastic. You've worked with us for a long time, and our patients appreciate you. I give specific examples of things that individual does to contribute to the team. And then here's a gift and just some kind of nice gift that's thoughtful and rewards that longevity. That's another one. Healthcare benefits. Obviously, in a chiropractic office, we have the luxury of providing chiropractic care for our employees and their families. So that's provided. For insurance, like health insurance, chiropractic care might be included in those benefits. You might decide not to, but what we do is a limited employer contribution. So up to a certain amount, I'll pay for whatever insurance plan you want. It doesn't have to include dental and vision, because for those expenses, we can allocate a certain amount per year and we'll pay a percentage of that. So, if there's X amount per year that will contribute towards your your dental and vision, and we'll pay, 80% of that. So there's this contribution, and it actually caters towards wellness care. So it's really a great way to go that we make that helps ensure healthcare for our employees. Another reward, goal planning. We set goals, lots of goals. You've heard me talk about goals today. So I work directly, and I advise you to as well, doctors. Work with your team. Help them develop personalized goals. Now, they don't have to share personal things with you or confidential things, but you can help to support them in the steps that they'll take to reach their own goals and continue to grow with your company over the years to come. So working with them, of course, I'll show you how to do that in Module 6 in our goal setting seminar. That'll be coming up later. Here's some examples, again, of continuing to cater to that career mentality. One of my CAs, she completed her X-ray license training. So she's a certified X-ray technician. She can take X-rays. That was paid for by me. and she's now certified. Here's where we sent her, and I've actually had 2 CAs that have gone to this school, Central California School. There's the phone number. Ask for Geneva. She's the one who directs that department. Billing seminars. Sam Collins, Dr. Collins, he runs the H.J. Ross insurance seminars. He's great. I highly recommend him. And there's his phone number if you want to get some refresher courses on insurance billing. He's the man. Yearly goal setting. I mentioned that earlier. Of course, we do that every year. We set up a day. We all leave the office and go out and plan our goals and really structure the goals for the office. They're very clear cut. They're exactly what we want to accomplish in the coming year. And then on the side, I work individually with my team to help them develop goals of their own. What employer does that, right? How many employers out there are actually working one-on-one with their team to help them develop goals? Like my CA came to me and said, hey, I want to actually further my career. I'd love to become an X-ray technician. Okay, done. Let's plot some action steps. Here's what we're going to do. We can make that happen for you. Another CA came to me and said, I want to actually get more into the insurance billing. I want to learn more about that. Okay, great. Let's do it. So there's not a lot of employers that do that. And there's even fewer employers that take it to the next step. What goals do you have that I can help you with? And you don't have to share anything personal, but is there anything I can help you with in terms of structuring a goal in your life? I had a CA that answered that question with, I want to buy a new car, but I don't know how I can afford it. Let's work on a goal together. I mean, I'm not going to be buying the car for you. I'll just help you to structure things in a way. And what we taught her was to start putting money aside every paycheck, just a little bit. And she set a goal, and within 10 months, she bought a brand new car and she paid cash for it. So that can be a great win-win with working with your team. Quarterly fun day, I've reviewed that. We'll actually go into more detail on this in Module 6, but these are just all some of the perks and the rewards of working with a stable company, right? Staff parties, get together outside of the office with your team, have fun, make it fun, right? Seminars and education, and that's our outline. So those are all the perks. Those are the benefits and bonuses of working with a real stable team. Here is the overview of our series for this module. We've covered 8 weeks, everything from attracting applicants all the way through hiring a doctor and the performance evaluation for longevity. So those are all the areas that you have in place now. That wraps it up. We are good. Great module. I want to thank everyone for our module, being a part of the module 1, which is the team development. We're going to jump into module 2, the new patient, and just, for being a part of DC trainings. Let's keep chiropractic at the top. Talk to you soon.
If you would like to become a member of DC Trainings, be sure to head on over to dctrainings.com to get started today.